Hey everybody, and welcome back to BK's Bullets. Today we're going to be talking about Batman Sword of Azrael. Hey everybody, and welcome back to BK's Bullets. And today we're going to be talking about my not favorite comic, but I really like this comic. We're going to be talking about Batman Sword of Azrael 1 through 4. This is the original trade paperback. This is just the 4 issues here with a wraparound cover by Joe Quesada, who does the interior art. And you can also find it currently, if you can still, I think you can still order these off Amazon and in-stock trades and the whatnot. This is the Azrael Fallen Angel Volume 1 trade. It says Volume 1, but this is the only volume because nobody likes Azrael but me. And maybe you if you're watching this video. So, I've read KnightQuest, or not KnightQuest, Nightfall, and I was about to start KnightQuest Volume 1, The Crusade, or The Crusade Volume 1, there's 2 volumes, and then the third one is The Search with Jean-Paul Valley as Batman, and I figured, you know what, let me go back and reread the, first appearance of this character, which is from Sword of Azrael. So this is a 4-issue miniseries that came out in 1992, written by Denny O'Neil and drawn by Joe Quesada with inks by Kevin Nolan. Now, if you know Denny O'Neil, you know he created Ra's al Ghul. And Denny O'Neil so loved this character, or at least maybe it was the only thing they gave him to do for a while, that when the series started up, I think in like 96, 97, I'm going to check when this was published. But anyway, for a long time, Denny O'Neil wrote the Azrael book. He wrote it for 100 issues. No fill-ins, nothing. He wrote every single issue, 1993 and 94. So let's call it like 95, 96, Azrael #1 started up. And Denny O'Neil was the writer on there. I started out with art by Barry Kitson. Sergio Carrillo was on there much, much later on. And a bunch of other artists who, I don't think everybody really paid attention to because it wasn't the Azrael book. But this is the cover to Azrael #1. From back in the day. Let's see if there's a year on here. February of 95. So there you go. Probably published in late 94. Came out, or with the February 95 cover date. So there you go. So I think he wrote it for, 6-7 years. At least through 2004, 2005 maybe. Is probably when Azrael 100 came out. So yeah, probably almost like a 10-year run or something like that. So pretty good length stretch to write the one character. And this is one of the later characters that he helped create. And I would say Azrael is famous for this miniseries, I think because of the Joe Quesada art, but really he's famous for taking over the mantle of Batman. And when I'm talking about Azrael, I'm talking about the actual person, which is Jean-Paul Valley. So what is Sword of Azrael? This, like I was saying, this is a 4-issue miniseries that just came out randomly in 1992, and it was introducing this new character. So what happens in this book? Well, you meet Azrael, Batman encounters Azrael, they have an adventure together, and then the adventure ends abruptly. That's pretty much what happens. What's weird is, I've read this multiple times, and I read it again today, and what's interesting is that the adventure literally ends in almost as if, if you were watching a movie, there'd be another 10 minutes for the heroes to say, well, good to finally meet you, or welcome to the team, or what are you going to do now? There is none of that in this last issue. It just, Batman and Azrael are both out of danger. Issue ends, and boom, he takes off his helmet and says, I'm Jean-Paul Valley. I remember who I am now. But this is a really, really fun book. I read it. I was wondering how I should read it because I have the digital files from Comixology. I also own the Azrael Volume 1 trade paperback, and I bought that because I was like, if I don't order it and show that I want more of them, how will they ever know, And then nobody ordered it but me. But I've had this for years too. So I was like, what should I read it in? The original, the new printing, how's this work? Because they kind of look the same from the cover, but in terms of the color quality, maybe the blues are a little better on the new version. But this does have glossier paper than the old matte paper. And so I read it on I read the new version of it. But I gotta say, when I was reading it, I was like, this is missing something. I don't know. But the original printing, if you can go find it, the original 4-issue miniseries, the little skinny trade, still, like, looking at it, the art is really sharp, the colors are still really sharp, and I think there might be something to, like, the paper it's printed on is really what it was, like, meant for and designed for, as opposed to this is the same paper that all comics are printed on, and since the coloring from 1992, the digital coloring is a little more, like, primitive than it is now. It doesn't stand out as much as it does in the older paper. So let's look at, so here's the original printing. Look at Bruce Wayne's face there. Really deep kind of flesh tones. It's not going to focus here. And then here's the new printing with the glossier paper. So it's a little bit of a lighter tone. And even the little troll guy here is a little bit darker. So we can get Gene Paul Valley in there. Yeah, so you can tell he's a little, like, he's got the red nose from being in the cold here on the older paper, but not so much in the new printing. But, you know, oh well. Doesn't really impact the story, but, you know, it's still a good story. If you can find it, it'll probably cost you a little bit less, although this, yeah, it says $10 on the back. I don't know what they're going to charge you if somebody still has it in stock at a reasonable price, but you can definitely still find the Volume 1 Fallen Angel on the internet, or maybe at your local comic shop if you're lucky. So Sword of Azrael, why is it cool? Why is it popular? Well, because it introduced this guy with blade hands that are on fire. That's why it's popular. That's why it's cool. And being drawn and created by Joe Quesada doesn't hurt either. Joe Quesada is a great artist, and this is one of, like, the few DC works he did, as far as I know. He was doing, like, X Factor for a while. I don't know if this is before or after he was doing X Factor in the 90s. Maybe before. And then he went and created his own company, Ash, with Jimmy Palmiotti. And then he came back to Marvel with Marvel Knights, doing Daredevil with Kevin Smith. And I think that was in, like, 97, 98. And then he's been there, like, ever since as either editor-in-chief. Now he's the chief creative officer. So kind of a rise from an artist to a business executive man kind of thing. He still draws every once in a while, but his last, like, major project that wasn't just covers was, I think, Daredevil Father. But he's a fantastic artist, even though, like, as he's gotten older, his style, like every artist, does shift. But the art in here is fantastic. Kevin Nolan on inks. I knew there was a reason why I liked this art, because sometimes Joe Quesada can be a bit blocky, but Kevin Nolan applies his deft ink pen, or quill, if you will, and kind of reins it in and lends this consistency to everything. Just really, really cool. So what's funny about this is, like, because it was Denny O'Neil, in the Fallen Angel trade, you have, you know, the credits of, like, you know, Batman created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger. Oh, wow. Yeah, so this is 2016. So this is after they started crediting Bill Finger with that co-credit. And then Azrael, it says Azrael created by Denny O'Neil and Joe Quesada. So you'd actually see that in, like, every issue of Azrael in the credits and stuff. So what happens in Azrael? What's the main thing of this Sword of Azrael? Well, it starts out, you're in Gotham City. There's a guy who's dressed like a knight who's shot, and then he kind of falls to his death and then climbs on his son's door. And you have Batman basically investigating, like, what the hell happened in my city? Why was there a guy dressed as a knight that killed some people on accident and ruined a parade? So it's just kind of like this little mystery tale, except you're following not just Batman, but you're following the Azrael character himself. When you meet the son, you follow his adventure, and he actually learns that, you know, his dad's part of this weird secret society. It's not really gone into, like, how long it's been since he's talked to his dad, or you know, whether he knew what his dad was part of. I mean, it's pretty clear that he's not. There's no mention of a mother or anything like that. But it's told to the reader and to Gene Paul that, you know, he's been trained and programmed, which is, I guess, trained, what I said, weird, with the thing called the system, where his father gave him some weird, like, subliminal hypnotic suggestions when he was raising him as a boy, and now they're going to unlock the system in his brain that's going to allow him to take up the mantle of Azrael. So I guess somehow this trains you to be a psychotic killer fighter, like learning jacking into the Matrix, you know? that's not really made clear, and it's not important. What's weird is that you first see Jean Paul, and he's like this skinny little college kid. Like, he's a really skinny little grad student here. And you're like, how has this guy become this beefy guy on the cover? Well, they're saying that they're going to throw you in the mountains, and that's going to train you. But look, he puts on the Azrael armor for the first time, and he's like swallowed up in it. Like, he barely fits. This other guy over here is like the villain of the piece. This is the Demon Biss, where it's this character named Laha, who actually killed Azrael's father in the first issue, and he's kind of going to try and wipe out the Order of Saint Dumas, which is this ancient order that all these guys belong to, and Batman and Alfred are in the Alps discovering this with you as the reader. So that's who all these guys are on the back. So it's just a fun little detective story with Batman, really. I mean, it spawned a whole bunch of other things, I think is why it's more notable, but as a story by itself, it's just a fun little 4-issue miniseries. There's nothing really, like, big to come out of it. It's not like Killing Joke where Batgirl gets shot, nobody gets killed or anything. It's just an addition. Here's a character they introduced, and that was it. And then they decided to involve him in this giant crossover event where all this other stuff happens that we know and we love, but this little 4-issue miniseries, I guess, is responsible for all that. Now, why this is drawn by Joe Quesada and has computerized coloring versus the regular issues, when you read the KnightQuest or the Nightfall, like, if you look at the inside of these, they're not computer colored. They're colored the old school way. This is not the computer coloring that's in the Sword of Azrael book. Like, this is just regular paint by numbers coloring, like they've been doing, or they were doing for like 30 years at that point. Maybe some of these are computers, who knows? But it's much more simplified compared to what's in the Sword of Azrael. So why that has a bigger budget for coloring, I don't know. Were they more expensive issues that came out at the time? I have no idea. Maybe this was the plan. We're going to have this fancy, beautiful new miniseries in 1992 that's going to introduce his character and in the regular books, and then when the regular books hit, we don't have to pay for them. So, who knows? But as a story by itself, it's not bad. It's pretty okay. I think what helps it the most is the art. You got the Joe Quesada art, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful art, and the inks by Kevin Nolan just kind of bring it on home. Like, they just mesh very well together. I don't know. This is Bruce Wayne here. I don't know if here's the, it's not technically Batman. It's another guy in the Batman costume. Laha puts it on for some weird reason. But I kind of like the way he draws Batman. He's got the same thing that Ethan Van Sciver was doing for a while, where Batman has like the large shoulder prongs and stuff, like right here. Almost, yeah, and they're even like hanging off the cape up here. It's kind of weird. I just love that. It's just fun. It's just fun comic book art. But I dig it. So, yeah, you can thank Quesada for drawing this and designing Azrael and making it a 90s costume with the pouches and the weird stuff on the gauntlets. And you can also thank him for designing this costume. Because if you'd seen the cover of Batman 500, you'd know, right? He drew the costume and designed it. And I think in the back of these books, in the overview videos I've done, you can see the designs that Joe Quesada did for this version of the costume as well. Like his final form as Asbats kind of thing. So yeah, very 90s, very, kind of tongue-in-cheek, but all in all, this is not a terrible book to go search out and read. If you can find it for $10, great. If you can find this for $20, I think it's worth it just for those 4 issues. Whether you like the next 8 issues that are collected in here is totally up to you. I have not read them yet. In this version, I have read them all before when I was like trying to hunt down the single issues, and I was going to do this like custom binding thing, and then I gave up on that, and kind of whatever. So I have read the first 7 issues of Azrael, which are also collected in this book, Volume 1, Fallen Angel, but I have not read them in a long time, so I can't comment on them, how well written they are. But as you know, I'm an Azrael fan, so they must have something good about them, right? So, Sword of Azrael. I think it's fun. Check it out if you can find it. If not, I don't know, watch the video again. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys next time in the funny pages. Like, comment, share, subscribe down below. Helps the channel grow. Thank you guys. We will see you guys next time.